Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. St. Peter's Catholic Church, Vienna, Austria. Introduction. The Peterskirche, English, St. Peter's Church, is a Baroque Roman Catholic parish church in Vienna, Austria. It was transferred in 1970 by the Archbishop of Vienna Franz Cardinal König to the priests of the Opus Dei. The first St. Peter's Church was built in the second half of the 4th century, on the site of the current building, as a conversion of a barracks building of the Roman Camp Vindobona. It was a basilica-style single-aisled hall church, the oldest church in Vienna and the city's first parish. The medieval St. Peter's Church arose from a Romanesque conversion of this church, which was later given a Gothic appearance. Its nave had 3 unequal naves and contained 8 altars. Its rectangular tower was 3 stories high, ending in high corner towers at the 4 edges and surmounted by a pointed spire in the middle. See Hofnagel's view, 1609, reproduced here. What the inside of this church looked like in detail is not yet known. Stone reredos from the late Gothic St. Valentine's Chapel from 1510–15 have been preserved in the crypt. The church has been restored several times, most recently fundamentally inside and outside from 2001 to 2004, see renovation. Underneath the entire church is the crypt, where the oldest part of the church can be found, a pre-Romanesque stone portal lion. This room was restored in 1971, refurbished and made available for pastoral care. A nativity scene exhibition, which has become very popular, has taken place here every year since 1958 during Advent. The pastoral care of St. Peter's Church was entrusted to the priests of Opus Dei by the Archbishop of Vienna in 1970. In 1976 the parish was converted into a rectorate church. The first church, the oldest church building, of which nothing remains today, dates back to the early Middle Ages, and there is speculation that it could be the oldest church in Vienna, see Peterskirche. That Roman church was built on the site of a Roman encampment. This church was replaced with a Romanesque church with a nave and 2 aisles. It is believed to have been established by Charlemagne around 800, although there is no evidence supporting this view. At the outside of the church, there is a relief sculpture by Arware consecrated to the founding of the church by Charlemagne. In any case, a church of St. Peter in Vienna is first mentioned in 1137. Around the end of the 12th century, the church became part of the Schottenstift. The medieval church had 3 altars, with an apse in the south instead of the normal eastern orientation. This unusual feature has triggered many discussions among experts, and it is suspected that the church was adapted from a previously secular building. The church was surrounded by shops, and a nearby building housed the Stadtguardia, a forerunner of the modern police. The old church burned down in 1661 and was given only makeshift repairs. The decision to build a new church was taken up with the arrival of the Fraternity of the Holy Trinity, of which the Emperor Leopold I was a member. He had taken a vow to rebuild this church when Vienna was ravaged by the plague in 1679 to 1680. The new building. The construction of the new Baroque church was begun around 1701 under Gabriele Montani, who was replaced by Johann Lucas von Hildebrandt in 1703. The design was inspired by the St. Peter's Basilica of the Vatican in Rome. Francesco Martinelli was the main architect. By 1722, most of the building was finished, and in 1733 the Peterskirche was finally consecrated to the Holy Trinity. The new church was the first domed structure in Baroque Vienna. Due to the confinement of available space, it was built in a compact form, with its oval interior housing an astonishing amount of space and rectangular attachments. The church's interior has a lot of gold stucco. The turreted dome was mainly designed by Matthias Steinle, who was also responsible for the interior decoration and the pews with cherubic heads. The frescoes were originally painted by the Italian Andrea Pozzo, whose paintings were removed after his death. As a result, in 1713, Johann Michael Rotmeyer was able to start a completely new set. The fresco in the cupola represents the coronation of Our Lady. On the triumphal arch one can see the coat of arms of Emperor Leopold I. In the spandrels around the dome are portrayals of the 4 evangelists and 4 fathers of the church, painted by the Viennese artist J.G. Schmidt. The same artist also painted the altarpiece in the side chapel of St. Michael. The Baroque high altar was created by Antonio Galli Bibbiena and his Bolognese workshop, construction, and Martino Altomonti, 1657–1745, altarpiece. The altarpiece portrays the healing of the lame by Saint Peter and Saint John in Jerusalem. The same artist also painted the altarpiece in the side chapel of the Holy Family. The small painting of the Immaculate Conception above the high altar is by the 19th-century artist Cupielvisa. The shrines in the side chapels of the Holy Family and St. Michael contain martyrs from Roman catacombs, donated by Cardinal Colonnetz in 1733. They were clothed in this period and placed in the glass coffins. The gilded pulpit is by Matthias Steinle, 1726, with on top of the canopy a representation of the Holy Trinity. Opposite the pulpit there is a gold and silver representation of the martyrdom of Saint John of Nepomuc, sculpted by Lorenzo Mattielli. On top of it is a statue of the Mother of God. Over the years, the paintings had become darker, and the interior began to take on a gray appearance. From 1998 to 2004, the church underwent a renovation, which returned the paintings to their original coloring and brightness. Architecture, architectural style, Baroque architecture. Architects, Johann Lucas von Hildebrandt, Kilian Ignaz Dientzenhofer. The church building rises on the ground plan of an ellipse, above it the central dome, which ends with a lantern, height 56.8 meters. The front, slightly concave, is flanked by 2 high towers and ends at mid-height in a balustrade. In the towers are the statues, made of sandstone, of the apostles Paul and Simon, on the left, and Johannes Ev. And Judas Thaddeus, right. On the back is a square with a transverse, oval dome. The sanctuary is located there, with the sacristy to the left and the exit to the crypt to the right. Access. The Peterskirche is located on Petersplatz, right next to Graben and just west of the Pestsaal. The street Jungferngasse cuts through the pedestrian zone and leads directly to the church. The Peterskirche is largely obscured by the surrounding buildings, and can only be seen clearly from directly in front. Immaculate Heart of Mary. The Immaculate Heart of Mary, Latin, Cor Immaculatum Mariae, is a Roman Catholic devotional name used to refer to the Catholic view of the interior life of Mary, Mother of Jesus, her joys and sorrows, her virtues and hidden perfections, and, above all, her virginal love for God the Father, her maternal love for her Son Jesus Christ, and her motherly and compassionate love for all mankind. Traditionally, the Immaculate Heart is depicted pierced with 7 swords or wounds, in homage to the 7 dolors of Mary and roses, usually red or white, wrapped around the heart. The Eastern Catholic Churches occasionally utilize the image, devotion, and theology associated with the Immaculate Heart of Mary. However, this is a cause of some controversy, some seeing it as a form of liturgical Latinization. The Roman Catholic view is based on Scripture, particularly the Gospel of Luke. History of Immaculate Heart of Mary. Historically, devotion to the Heart of Mary grew up in parallel, but at a lesser intensity than that of devotion to the Heart of Jesus, only starting to become more prominent during the time of Saint John Eudes. John Eudes was born in 1601 in Normandy, France. He entered the Congregation of the Oratory of France, founded in 1611 by Cardinal de Berulle, and was ordained to the priesthood on December 20, 1625. Saint John brought people to love Christ and the Virgin Mary by speaking tirelessly about their heart, the sign of the love God shows for us and the communion to which we are called. To offer them liturgical worship, he composed masses and offices in their honor and had the first feast of the Holy Heart of Mary celebrated on February 8, 1648, at Autun, France, and the Feast of the Heart of Jesus celebrated on October 20, 1672. He died on August 19, 1680 and was canonized by Pope Pius XI on May 31, 1925. Nevertheless, it was not until after the apparitions at Rue du Bac concerning the miraculous medal made to Catherine Labour in 1830, and the establishment of a society dedicated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, at the Church of Our Lady of Victories in Paris in 1836, that this particular devotion became really well known. Since then, devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary has gradually grown more widespread in the Church, particularly since the apparitions at Fatima. The main difference between the devotions to the hearts of Jesus and Mary is that the one concerned with Jesus emphasizes his divine heart as being full of love for mankind, but with this love for the most part being ignored or rejected, while devotion to Mary's heart is essentially concerned with the love that her heart has for Jesus, for God. Therefore, it is not an end in itself, so the love of her heart is meant to be a model for the way we should love God. The fact that her heart is immaculate, that is sinless, means that she is the only fully human person who is able to really love God in the way that he should be loved. Honoring Mary's Immaculate Heart is really just another way of honoring Mary as the person who was chosen to be the Mother of God, recognizing her extraordinary holiness and the immense love she bestowed on Jesus as his mother, the person who was called to share in and cooperate in his redemptive sufferings. The aim of the devotion is to unite mankind to God through Mary's heart, and this process involves the ideas of consecration and reparation. A person is consecrated to Mary's Immaculate Heart as a way of being completely devoted to God. This involves a total gift of self, something only ultimately possible with reference to God, but Mary is our intermediary in this process of consecration. Because of the strong analogy between Jesus and Mary, the consecration to Mary's Immaculate Heart is closely linked to the consecration to Jesus' Sacred Heart, although it is subordinate and dependent on it. That is, although the act of consecration is ultimately addressed to God, it is an act that is made through Mary. Veneration. The veneration of the heart of Mary is analogous to the veneration of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. There are, however, differences in this analogy, as devotion to the heart of Jesus is especially directed to the divine heart as overflowing with love for humanity. In the devotion to Mary, however, the attraction is the love of her heart for Jesus and for God. The second difference is the nature of the devotion itself. In the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Roman Catholic venerates in a sense of love responding to love. In the devotion to the Heart of Mary, study and imitation hold as important a place as love. The aim of the devotion is to unite humankind to God through Mary's heart, and this process involves the ideas of consecration and reparation. Scriptural basis. In chapter 2 of Luke's Gospel, the evangelist twice reports that Mary kept all things in her heart, that there she might ponder over them. Luke 2:35 recounts the prophecy of Simeon that her heart would be pierced with a sword. This image, the pierced heart, is the most popular representation of the Immaculate Heart. John's Gospel further invited attention to Mary's heart with its depiction of Mary at the foot of the cross at Jesus' crucifixion. Augustine of Hippo said of this that Mary was not merely passive at the foot of the cross, she cooperated through charity in the work of our redemption. Augustine says that she was more blessed in having borne Christ in her heart than in having conceived him in the flesh. The Rococo Portal. The Rococo Portal was designed by Andrea Altomonte and executed by a donation from the superintendent of the Brotherhood of Trinity, Joachim Georg Schwantner, Tomb in the Church, left in the presbytery. On the roof, the three theological virtues of faith, hope and love are represented as lead statues, by Franz Kohl, inspired by figure inventions by Georg Raphael Donner. The organ, balustrade, Rococo-style grille and the organ pipes, 2,175 pipes, 3 manuals, 34 voices, are richly decorated. The overall concept of the organ and the pews comes from Matthias Steinle. Under the organ gallery there are frescoes by Egali Bibiana from the life of Saint Peter. Here, Jesus commands Peter to walk on the sea. The interior of the church is characterized by the oval shape and the high dome. Under the leadership of Matthias Steinle, the participating masters have created a unified total work of art. Dome fresco, painted almost alone by Johann Michael Rotmeyer in 2 years, 1713–14. The main theme is the coronation of Mary by God the Father and God the Son. The Holy Spirit hovers over it in the lantern. All around the apostles, well-known saints and figures from the Old Testament, the 3 archangels and everywhere many angels. Feast Day, 17th June. Annual Feast Day of Immaculate Heart of Mary, Our Lady of Immaculate Heart, held on 17th June. Mass time, weekdays, 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5 p.m., Saturdays, 11 a.m., 12 o'clock, noon, 5 p.m., Sundays, 10 a.m., 11:15 a.m., 5 p.m. Church visiting time, weekdays, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Contact info. Address: St. Peter's Catholic Church, Peters Square, 1010 Vienna, Austria. Website www.peterskirche.at. How to reach the church. Vienna International Airport in Stadt, Austria is the nearby airport to the church. Stephansplatz subway station in Vienna, Austria is the nearby subway station to the church. If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.